Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning, and welcome back to another session of Lakhi Singh, the Alternative Business Property Solutions Community, and Drive Time with Lakhi Singh, the Property Fixer. Good morning, and we have another interesting week today. We have now, obviously, come to, I think, the end of lockdown. They're saying June is probably when lockdown will completely finish, and end of March when the restrictions on lockdown travel coming to the end. Well, so interesting times. Today's topic, or this week's topic, sorry, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. Today's topic is right. Minorities in the UK, and domestic violence, which is quite a controversial topic. Not everybody can talk about it. Not everybody has got the ability to talk about something which is so difficult, I think, in lots of people's lives who are suffering, or at least have come across it. And obviously in the UK. So we're talking about that. We have the wonderful guest on today, Anastasia. Is it Fox? Fox, Anasthasiafox. That's right. She's Miss East Europe, and the first time we've had a Miss pageant competition winner. I think she's a winner. I think, or she's one of the contestants on today. So it'll be interesting to see how much she has to say on the topic. And as usual, we've got Lakhi Singh live, drive time. We're waiting for him still. She's waiting. Excellent. Right. Well, it's the drive time live session with the Alternative Business and Property Solutions Community with Lakhi Singh, the Alternative Business and Property Solutions Community Fixer. We haven't got Lakhi on yet, so we're going to go straight to our lovely guest, Anastasia. Can we have her on? Can I have her on? I have her all to myself this morning. Good morning, Anastasia.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Excellent. Good morning. So whereabouts in the world are you, Anastasia?
So I'm living in United Kingdom, Midlands, and I
In the
see
Midlands.
it's a little bit sound problem. Maybe I need to put some ears, head ears.
Put some what?
Can I log? I will log in one more time because it's echo behind. Give me a second.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, log in again. Log in again, please.
Yes,
and
thank
I'll just
you.
do. Okay. Right. So I think we've got Anastasia coming back again. She obviously doesn't hearing an echo. Oh, interesting. She's in the Midlands, I think, and okay. Right. So we have. We're going to try and get her back on again. Is she back on? Excellent. Anastasia, we've got you back on again. Good morning, Anastasia.
Good morning. I think.
Is that better?
I think it's better.
Excellent. Okay, so you're in the Midlands. Is that the Midlands of Europe or the Midland of the United Kingdom? Midland.
I'm in the United Kingdom, and I'm working particularly with communities which living in United Kingdom. So because I'm born previously, so my birth was in a Soviet Union time. It's really big back echo. It's really hard to say.
Is it bad? Oh, it's not from our side. We can hear you perfectly fine. So there's no echo here. Maybe your volume is, bring your volume down. Maybe bring your volume down a bit.
So maybe now,
Is that
it's better? Hard to say. I try close the laptop. Now I hear you. I hear you really well, but I hear my own echo back.
Can you hear
that's
us now? So you have to turn your volume down a bit. Turn your volume down.
So
that's probably the problem. Can you hear? Are you right now? Can you hear us?
I hear you really well. It's just I hear my own echo. It's really challenging to talk over it. Now it's better. Thank you.
Okay. Is that better now?
Can I maybe try to log in from computer, not from mobile phone? That's
okay. Yeah. Try to do that.
I'm really sorry. It's just I didn't.
That's all right.
Think
don't worry.
Don't
worry. Don't worry. Log in again. That's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Anastasia is having a bit of a problem logging on. We're waiting for her to return. While she does that, obviously we've got the saying of the week, or the motto of the week, or the proverb of the week, that when you come to the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang out. I don't know what that means. It has a different meaning to different people. So hanging out and tying a knot in your rope, meaning to a different sort of people. Leaving that aside, let's look at the topic, which is ethnic minorities. Is it ethnic minorities integration and domestic violence? It's a difficult topic, but I hope Anastasia has lots to tell us on it when she does log back in. Probably taking a bit of time. So in the meantime, we talk mainly about interesting things that we've got going on. We're saying now that we've got a slow and gradual reduction of the lockdown measures, and apparently we're going down the process of reducing the tiering in lockdown up until June, which is positive because I think it's going to give a good message out around the world and good message to the economy. People are going to start getting excited. That's what I think. Now, they're saying the travel ban, the strictness of the travel ban also is going to end of March. So we will also get to a situation where things will go back to some normality. People traveling before that, obviously, are going to find they have to be forcibly going into a period of self quarantine for, I think, 14 days. And the sad thing about it is it's being done at the cost of the traveller, which is weird. I don't know why. I think up to £1,800 per traveller. Too expensive for £1,800. You could have a 5-star luxury holiday for 5 days and enjoy it. I think that's probably it's a bit too much, I think, for people to bear. But I mean, we commiserate with anybody who's had to spend that money. Is that me? Is that mine? Is that mine? So it's a bit sad for people who are having to spend that money. I think it's not fair, but nevertheless, probably better not to travel unless you've really got some urgent, emergent reasons. Interesting about life as well. Life has taken a turn. We're finding lots of people we know, people close to us, dying or suffering from some form of illness or disease or the virus. I think it changes the way you look at life and death. life and death has become quite close, I think, quite different in the way we would look at it before. I think it's only, so I think you have to fall back on something that you believe in. If you haven't got a belief structure, it's very difficult. It's probably very, very scary, I would say. That's the word. Very scary, not knowing what will happen. We've heard of cases of people passing away within days and weeks. And one wonders, is that going to be the same fate for lots of others, including ourselves? So let's see if we can get Anastasia back. Is Anastasia back on yet? Still logging in. Okay, that's all right. No problem. When we get her on, we'll enjoy the conversation then. All right, Lakhi Singh, have we got any news of Lakhi Singh? Okay, cool. Okay, so we're continuing with the general conversation. So coming to the end of your rope, it could mean lots of different things. I think rope sometimes could be known as a milestone. So you're doing something, and you complete a milestone. A milestone, for example, let's say for a youngster, the milestone could be completing their degree. You completed your degree, and you happen to complete your degree during these times. So no employment, no job opportunities, no internship, nothing. What do you tie a knot in your original plans and just hang out? Like, good morning, Anastasia. How are you? You're back now. Can we hear you
I'm
now
back.
a bit more clearly?
Hopefully now we can talk, because was big echo was really challenging to talk about.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you really well. Can you hear me?
Mute? No?
Okay. Did you hear me? Hello?
Right, I'm back on again. Now we're waiting for Anastasia. Okay, got it back. Anastasia,
yes.
Can you hear us now?
I hear you.
Excellent. Right, so you're in the Midlands, and the topic I think that you've chosen, it's quite a difficult topic. I think it's more of a specialist topic in terms of, is it, what was the, it's...
domestic violence in minority communities.
Domestic violence, and this is during lockdown, is it? Okay. So I'm going to ask you first, Anastasia, is this a topic that you have chosen and you studied in uni or college somewhere? Is it a topic that you have had practical knowledge of and you're covering that topic to bring highlight it to the rest of the UK and the world? Or is it why there is thing as a word as ethnic minority? Why is this thing as a word ethnic minority? Surely we all have the same blood in our bodies. Okay, we are all humans. Females and males are all the same. There's hardly any difference. Why should we use this word ethnic minority to describe someone who has a different culture? Why?
So a little bit internet for in the EU side, I think it's broken up. But as I understand, you asked me why particular I'm choose this topic. And in this sense, I want to say, first of all, I'm my own experience from really early age, what is domestic violence, severe from very early age against my mother and myself in 3 categories, which is mental, physical, and sexual abuse. So I knew this topic and experienced myself. That's it's one of the highlights which I would like to share, how this influenced my life and my decisions, my values, etc. Secondary, I studied in Moscow psychology and became here in United Kingdom as known as NLP master practitioner to help and understand how to overcome really challenging situations in your life. And people which go through domestic violence, of course, have a big challenges overcome these traumas. And third, I worked in the United Kingdom in a high security mental health hospital with the patients which became as a patients because of several domestic and different kind of traumatic situations.
Yeah. Okay, let's cover one topic at a time then. First, domestic, there's 3 types. There is the physical, there is the mental, the psychological, and there is the sexual.
Actually, it's more. This is topics which personally I'm experienced. You lost me, or I lost you?
So is it?
You are back? Did you hear me?
I can hear you now. You have some problem with your internet.
My internet is all right. I hope so.
Okay. So tell me the 3 types of domestic violence. Where does it stem from? First, let's look at the perpetrator, the person who inflicts domestic violence. Is it always a male? Can it be a female?
Definitely, I do not want to classify that just the male is perpetrator. Sometimes people have quite incorrect opinion of domestic violence that only men can be perpetrator. Nevertheless, that it's one of the signs actually where women it's more louder to talk about that, because men do not want to admit that actually women mentally, physically, or financially, or either controlling as well, it's one of the signs of the domestic violence where people even do not know. So when we talk about the domestic violence, there it's not only physical, there it's mental, there it's psychology, where underneath you understand that controlling as well, it's one of the domestic violence where majority women keep control over the men, which classified as domestic violence, where people do not understand that this is well only one. Another really big topic in the domestic violence are that financial domestic violence. So what is means that one of the partners keep all the finance and do not allow use the finance for his own needs. So this is the awareness which I want to talk about, because through my life, actually, I went through many topics, because each of the topics in a domestic violence are signs to get until physical. Because nobody straight away became physical. They start with controlling, then start from mental abusing, then start with verbal abusing and putting down or really negative influence each other, and only then became control over then physical, and then only became physical domestic violence. So
Okay, let's find first. Just
this
one
is the
question.
topics.
One question, Auntie. I want to ask you. This has come across. I think most mature people will have come across something to do with the topics. I think that we'd be lying if we said no, we don't know, or we've never seen anybody, or we don't know of anybody. The question is, sometimes people who have a tendency to be violent in their domestic life. So if we say domestic life means your normal day-to-day relationships in the home, are maybe people who have suffered the another human. Sometimes is it not a cycle? So Mr. X or Mrs. Y suffered domestic abuse in their childhood, and once they become matured, they don't understand how good relationships are formed. They only understand what they saw in their childhood. So they are probably living out what they've seen. They don't because they haven't seen them. So how do you reconcile
You're really breaking up. Actually, you are completely right. This kind of behaviors actually came from some kind of child time experiences, and this is only when this became as a normal. And many countries, actually cultural influences are in how to behave in families, and particular it's post-Soviet bloc, where threats was as normality influences while this kind of behaviors further on.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I think it sounds like you've got a bad line there.
This side, I think it's really great, but actually post, it's really challenging. Hear the question. I'm really apologize. But I hear you absolutely right, and great. And I don't have echo either with you guys.
Okay, excellent. So the question, Lakhi, we've got Anastasia on. She is obviously talking about a very difficult topic, I would say. Not easy for people to talk about this topic. It's
Well, I think I know what the topic is, because we can't really hear Vijay Sal very clearly. The topic is about domestic violence, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And there was questions about what is domestic violence, how many categories are, and why children behaviors, and later on in life human have this kind of behaviors. Top of that, the question was about why these behaviors starting and from where. So as far I understand from really some kind of broken up questions, was really challenging to understand, but I think that's the was questions about.
What you
Okay.
your suggested answer then to that question?
So I was mentioned that the last question was about how behaviors starting, and there is completely right suggestion that childhood traumas or behaviors in a families sometimes lead this circle where people again and again start behave the same way if they see in childhood that parents have a quite abusive relationship. There are as well influence from social media. I'm afraid it is particular in school times where children start see aggressive behaviors based on a different kind of topics and say this is normality. It is challenging question to say why particular the behavior starting. Majority this is start of taking in consideration of individual insecurities, and through the insecurities controlling, and that start developing on a domestic violence. And I one more time want to say to all viewers, please do not think that only men it's abuser or perpetrator. There are many evidences that actually women really aggressively mentally abusing men, and that's leading to different kind of domestic violence. This is one of the topics why I'm want to so loudly talk about that, because as I mentioned in the beginning, I went through from very early age, and this was one of the reasons why I became Olympic athlete and took a part Moscow's Olympic Games, because that was only one way when I start to run away from what I see at home. So this was my escape, how I felt to do not return at home to see what's going on at home, running to gyms. But there is another where people get in a wrong route and this behavior escalating.
Well, I think VJ Sal's back on now. Can you hear us, VJ Sal? He's frozen again, I think. So I think what happens is the first 1 to 4 years or 5 years are the transformative years, and the ones which are the ones that in some ways define a child's life in terms of what's printed in their brain about what's happening around them. So you're right. I think if you've got some sort of domestic violence happening in the family, it becomes people rather than normalize it in their head, and when they get older, it will be sort of imprinted in their psychology. It'll be difficult for them to then deal with it, because that they won't realize it was trauma. They would just realize it's reality, and they may play it out again. So the question is, where does the blame lie? When somebody does actually carry out domestic violence, does the blame lie with the individual, or down to the parenting? And I think if people do realize that they've had that sort of abuse in their life, then I think I suppose it's going to be really tough if they're very reflective and able to realize that they've got some sort of issue. Then getting help with their mental health is probably the first step. I mean, what do you suggest?
So my suggestion is really you say absolutely correct, that we cannot blame no one, because not child, not family members cannot take responsibilities of perpetrator behaviors or change them. So the first step are actually, it's definitely leave this family setting. For the children part, that's its hardest bit. because always children want to have both sides of family and parenting. Nevertheless, it's proven that it's better be separate good parents than parents together with domestic violence in it, because the influence on the child it's much deeper. And to what will be advised, definitely advise children which are in a domestic violence settings, definitely contact professionals and go through the counseling and therapies to overcome the trauma. Otherwise, that will become as a next level, next perpetrator, or that doesn't need to be to perpetrator. That can be the next level whose will be always suffering, because the domestic violence will be as a modeling, as a normality family life. And if there are no abuse, they think something in it, the family, it's not correct. So we have to be really careful about that, how much actually domestic violence influence children later on in the days as well, not only in childhood time, but in the rest of their lives. How they will looking on a relationship and building the relationship models. That will be next perpetrator, or that will be next sufferer, which always will looking for this kind of relationship. And it's another thing, what it's so important. We some kind of try to do not involved in a family issues, but nevertheless, until we do not reporting that is really challenging to tackle.
There's a lot of background noise, so
actually VG sale, when he's open up, then it's really background noise. When we are only two in the screen, then it's
no. I was going to ask VG sale, would you mind putting the volume off? If you take the volume off, then on your side, if you put it on mute, then we can hear each other a bit better. Thank you.
So
I think
now it's better. Thank you.
VG sales in a manufacturing plant somewhere where they're producing bathrooms or something, and it's getting quite noisy. I think they're trying to make some of the pipes for the bathrooms.
They call echo.
That's right. An echo. So anyway, I want to move away from the topic for a second, because I think I missed the beginning part. So you're an Olympic athlete, you said. So tell us a little bit more about that. Sounds very intriguing. Is that linked to? I think it's linked to your past. I think you try to get away from your home's family situation and distract your mind by moving into something of more of a growth mindset. So you wouldn't really get engaged in that type of psychology. Was your way of escaping what happened, presumably. So, tell us more about how that happened, and were you successful in your endeavors, or is it more that whatever happened in that was more of a way to escape, so you could have some peace of mind, some serenity in your head?
Yes, you're right. You little bit enjoy us later, and you little bit grab correct essence from it. Yes, my mother was divorced from my biological father when she was pregnant with me, and when I was 2 years old, she remarried with another man, and actually recently, if I can say recently, I analyzed the situation in my family. I always thinking the perpetrator was my stepfather, where after many years of therapies and many years working and analyzing many things, actually my mother was the perpetrator, but with a stepdad hands, if that can sense. Maybe strange, but actually that's happened. And I born in Latvia, which was those days Soviet Union country, and I those times in 1970s, any child was put in some kind of sport really early age. From 3 years old, I start to do ice skating, and then 5 years old, I get quite big episode where was big trauma. When nearly half year I was in a hospital, and after that, of course, ice skating I have to close. But because ice skating have a gymnastic element, so I moved to gymnastics, where I was only 9 years old when I was part of Soviet Union Olympic team as a gymnast. And I was so privileged to actually be part of open and closing ceremonies. If you have a look in YouTube, you can understand what kind of high trainings have to be, and those time to get in at that place was a enormous job. As a small young girl, I was 8-9 hours in a gym to do the training, from where 2 hours was mental training. Even sounds ridiculous, but there was mental training to achieving the goals. And thank you them, because over the last 5 years on those technologies, I overcome the traumas over the years which came up, and how I overcome, and I became survivor of all this demoning life when I was in child.
Okay, what would be useful to know for the viewers, especially, is you said mental training. By that I mean, I understand what, from what I understand from what you mean, it means that they spent 2 hours probably getting you motivated, talking to you about your goals, goal setting, and understanding really what your psychology was, so that you're more focused and more independent in your thinking, and you don't come too emotional for everything. So I'm sort of guessing, actually. So I think it'll be interesting for the viewers to know really what the process was, because maybe anybody out there who's having some sort of issue, it's a very serious issue for them, and it possibly could blight their life forever. But I think just a couple of simple things, even if you can give a little of that 1% back to them, so that they've got a way out, because you can imagine really how bad things must be, especially with lockdown, where normally a lot of people can escape, and now they're trapped somewhat in a relationship, and if they're a child. I mean, and the other thing I wanted to say before we do that is that it's not just domestic abuse because of parenting. You've got people that are maybe drug addicts, or they're alcoholics, or they've got severe depression, or they've got some sort of mental issue or paranoia. So there's a lot of people that have mental illness but goes undiagnosed for the duration of their life, because the families begin to accept that it's normal. And I think it's very dangerous. I think once I actually, without going into too much detail, I've had quite a few people contact us because we help people with financial problems. But there are a lot of underlying issues which are to do with the family itself, where there's somebody's turned to sort of some form of drugs, but they've, for 10-15 years, they haven't really been using them. But when they get pressure, they lost their job, or they're at a loose end, they go back to their old habits from 15-20 years ago, and then something comes out. But the children are sort of 10 or 15, and the children now don't have a route out of the problem. So it inevitably leads to some sort of breakup or a situation like that. So there's a lots of different circumstances, but I think let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on what we can do to assist for people that are stuck in that situation and how to escape it.
Okay.
So one is a positive mindset. So tell us really how.
First, if there is any signs of domestic violence, even in an early age, definitely that couple have to be divided. There is no way they can stay together for some time until they figure out their own issues, why this happens. If there is one of the parts have a mental health issues, that mental health issues have to be resolved if they want to join back as a family later. But this is first step, what have to be done if there is any signs of domestic violence. Those people need to be separate. That doesn't mean you need to divorce. That doesn't mean you need to take time out, live separate, each of the couple looking in the personal issues, solve them, and if they are agree that they can live together later on, that's fine. Everyone have a decisions, everyone have some kind of back crashes or memories or issues to deal with. But if this is in a family starting, hello, someone lost, that have to be definitely continue. So that is the first step what need to be done if there in a family it's domestic violence, and then go for help in a different kind of there in the United Kingdom. There is a lot of help. It's women's aid, it's main charities which a lot of support people. So it's not like you step out alone. Definitely you need to looking for professionals, which is GP, which is counseling, family counseling, but definitely you cannot stay under the one roof longer if the domestic violence started. That is first what I advise everyone: straight away leave separate, find the way separation for sometimes to resolve the underlying issues, and looking for professional help, or that is a psychologist, or that is narcologist, or that it's counseling, what else. But you need both sides looking for support, which in United Kingdom you have quite a lot of support programs, charities, organizations which give you this support.
Vijay trying to come back in now, but Vijay, unfortunately, we still can't hear you very clearly. So I think there's some sort of internet issue. We can hear you, but it sort of comes across like
with
like
echo.
Dalek's voice. That's what I can hear. So I think I can continue if you wish, or we can try. Do you want to try and come back in again in a couple of minutes? If you make a comment at the bottom, Vijay Sal, I can then, if you let, I can continue with the conversation. Okay. So the first step is to divide, and I suppose the problem you got with that is, when two people are together, if one person's in too much emotional turmoil to unable to try and make a decision, because there is love, somebody does love somebody even though it's rough and difficult. It's not because that's all they know. Sometimes both parties, sometimes it's not the abuser, it's also the person that abused also finds it difficult to let go, you could argue. So the question is, well, they've when they're at their most peaceful moment, they've got to make some rational decisions, because if they are in the heat of the moment, or anger, or whatever the underlying issues are, they're not going to be able to make rational decisions. They're going to be literally, it's going to be fight and flight most of the time. So So I think the best thing to do in those circumstances really is to get maybe a family member involved who does see what's going on, who can probably try and assist, or an external organization. But I think it's really, really dangerous if people are actually together and they've got especially babies or very young children. And if somebody's out of control, it could be a, it could
That's
be.
how I was hit 5 years old, and I have a so severe trauma and brain damage that I was 10 days in a coma.
Really? So I think it could be.
This is where I said people even do not recognize how dangerous can be stay together if they are starting domestic violence, even mental abuse. To see how one of the parents suffering all the time mentally, the child absorbing that and take this as normality. And if this child take this as normality, so that behavior later continue as a normality. So we actually breaking down our children in a so early age. So this is where I know how sounds really harsh. It's better separate parents with the good behaviors. When child can attend and spend great time with a dad, separate, and great time with a mother, separate, but not when he see what happened in a domestic violence environment.
I agree. I think that's, it's tough.
It's tough. It's really tough.
So I think the first step is separate them so that nothing can be done. Obviously, if there's a relationship there, somebody can come out of it. They can always come back once they're in a position where they either given some medication or they've, rehabilitated, and there's more of a safe environment, which can be sort of test out really if everything's going to be okay. And I think I want to go back to the other point. Obviously, if somebody's in it but they can't escape it, like somewhat was your situation, what was the training or the you said you had 2 hours worth of mental training. Explain to us what that is.
That was Olympic. That was athlete training. Okay, right. I will explain you a little bit about that. Soviet Union was one of the powerful athlete.
The Russians want to kill me once I find out the secrets, because if you find out.
We had a contract for 25 years. We couldn't tell no one the techniques which we was working with. That's true. So now that is gone. I'm not anymore 25 years or 30 years old. So I can little bit disclose the situation. What is mental training? The mental training was, as you mentioned, really correct. There is goal setting, there is motivational, etc., etc. But literally a few years ago, I discovered that United Kingdom, these techniques classified as an NLP, and I make all the certificates and everything that start practicing these techniques for the clients, which would you like overcome the trauma, called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programmation. Yeah. Those techniques in the 1960s was discovered in a world globally that with the neuro-linguistic programmation you can achieve many things, and you can overcome so many challenges, phobias, etc., etc. But based on Olympic athletes and the way how we push ourselves was on a neuro-linguistic programmation, how we talk with ourselves, how we see where we can go, and how to overcome physical pain or pain on the trainings, or etc., etc.
Right. Okay. So that's the secret. I mean, just to let you know, I am actually an NLP certified practitioner.
Oh, welcome. Then you some kind of little bit understand the grabs and bits of it. But again, when I passed the certification myself, there my coaches said the techniques which I use there didn't see in United Kingdom, but they are really powerful.
Right. Wow. Okay. So that's the big secret behind the Olympics. Anybody
Yes.
out there? Secret is out now. It was
It's
out.
it's not only Olympics, actually. Yeah, really good this work techniques in a business environment as well for entrepreneurs to actually see the coin from another side and make the decisions which is necessarily in a goal setting. So there are links with it. It's not just NLP. There it's bunch of NLP goal setting, mental setting as well. I do not want to ask and tell the word, but discipline, which actually in United Kingdom it's known, and respect of elders and respect of coaches, respect this all in these 2 hours of the mental training was all combined. There it's no one or two. You cannot achieve the goal if you do not respect advisor or someone which advise you. You cannot achieve the goal if you do not understand another side of the coin. I'm really sorry, I have a puppy dog. Archie, no. He's really what he's figured out now what is the window.
Is goal setting for him, I think. Okay, just to, I've had a couple of questions in, so big shout out from quite a lot of people actually. It's like gone a bit crazy today. We've got John Smith, Hazel Parker, Mandy Sandhu, Sonia Lambert,
No.
Bahanur. There's quite a few others across different platforms. So Sonia's put, for women, it's not so easy to involve and talk to other people about their situation. Mandy saying I agree, and then Sonia saying the textbooks and the theory suggest what you should do, but there are so many women trapped in situations they can't escape from.
I want to say, I'm sorry, they all the time say women's. Actually, the men talk less. Women more or less speak with a friend or with someone, and there are, yes, I agree, there are really challenging situations to get out of this. Absolutely agree. And it particular women which not independent, which is a little bit depend on the parents or a partner. I get that. I understood that. But not only women who do not talk. Actually, men, it's more sufferers in a different level than women, but they do not say any word because they feel shame, they feel uncomfortable to talk about. And men, as a gender, it's who do not talk about.
I think I can vouch for men in the sense I think men are they could actually be worse victims. But I think we, to be honest, I don't think we should generalize in terms of whether it's women or men.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter which way around it is actually, because because there's going to be extremes of both situations and any given situation around the world. So the question is really that somebody is really trapped, whether it's a woman or man. We've got to be PC here. How they're really going to be vulnerable, and they're also going to be quite overly sensitized in terms of what's going on around them. They're going to feel like they're trapped because there's if somebody's an abuser, it may not, like you said, it may not just be domestic. Sometimes the mental part of it could be 10 times worse because somebody's in a psychological stranglehold. And the biggest question is what would you suggest would be a way of somebody breaking out of it? So what would be, if somebody's actually in that situation, been in a long-term situation, and they see it now gradually getting worse over a couple of months or years, or decades, what would you, because ultimately it could lead to something terrible happening in their lives because they may not be longer be able to take it, or just from domestic violence itself, they may not be able to survive it. So this is a very, very sort of touchy topic in terms of how important it could be in terms of people that might be listening now. They may be going through something like this. So what would be the first step? Because obviously separation is one part, but what would be the first step for them first to even realize that there's a possibility of them coming out of it somehow? What would be the
I
two,
think
three?
first
Kind of
people need to
psychology.
understand. I think first of all, people need to understand what is domestic violence, the awareness about domestic violence, and if they are already into it, the first step, what should be done. Everyone can get in a GP. Okay, now it's COVID time. Now we do not generalize now COVID situation that it's
Yeah.
challenging to go to GPs. And I talk about what going on in United Kingdom. I cannot give advice if you have a viewers in India. If they are in India, they always can contact me, and I can some kind of give them mental support and advice how to overcome. Here in United Kingdom, it's a lot of basic settings. First of all, when it's domestic violence, it's first of all straight away 999 police react on domestic violence, but that is a heavy cases already where it's physical as a priority call. Another, if you cannot get out because you are under control of your perpetrator, now on pharmacies you can say code word. Please, if someone want to know about that more, contact me straight away. I always give you all the information. Plus, there are as well advice, always speak with a local neighbor, gave him some kind of indication. If there is noises, please, neighbors can call 999. This is another topic which I always want to say. We sometimes hear what's going on behind the walls, and we think, okay, that's not my business. But actually, these are our business, because maybe you save someone's life.
Wow, some very powerful things there. I mean, those are situations that are quite extreme. So obviously the police, going to the GP, a social worker, talking to you are very good ways of possibly escaping it. Then you get something in the middle where it's not quite domestic abuse. It might just be, when people have few too many drinks, they get aggressive, or
no, this is no excuse. No way. Even you are drunk, if you raise the hand, that is domestic violence.
Right. Okay. So what
doesn't matter, because what happened with the drinking.
Now the point I'm raising is
actually bring back the barrier which inside you feel like, and if you cannot control, so that's the straight. This is not excuse.
Okay. Now what I'm saying is that you got very extreme situations where people are literally, domestic violence is rife, so they can't get out of it. So I understand calling the police, going to the GP, talking to a social worker, talking to you, and getting some serious help. But then you get situations with people in the middle where the person that's suffering the abuse may think it's just an odd thing that happens once in a while, but it may not be. It may be a bit more latent. May not be that they are actually physically aggressive. They may just get verbally aggressive. But
that is domestic violence. That is still domestic violence.
No, let me just finish the point. So I'm saying, so the person that's being abused and the person that's abusing, they may not be taking it as seriously, but it could develop into something more serious. But I'm just trying to give an example of something where the person that's actually abusing or abused are not taking it to the point where they need to separate or actually report it, but it's still there. So what should be done when it's a middle type of situation where it's not terrible and people are just sort
Okay.
of biting their tongue and just dealing with it? Because there's three things. One is that people are sometimes caught up in a relationship. They've got 5 kids. They've got financial situation. They've got, maybe they haven't got any relatives in the country to turn to. They've got they don't their language skills to be able to claim benefits or seek refuge may not be possible. So there will be undoubtedly a lot of those people in those sort of situations. They're not in a terrible situation. It's bad, but they are biting their tongue and just getting on with it. What do you suggest for those sort of people?
Again, and maybe sounds really silly. Definitely you need to looking for psychologists, for the people to talk, to see the underlying issue, because domestic violence and behaviors are all underlying issues which some person cannot deal with. So if it's this, as you classified yourself as a middle line, so indicate what is that, why this argument started, and are this is a personal issue, or that it's a combined issue, or that it's behaviors which is taking as a normality. This situation is really easy to nothing it's easy, sorry, wrong, taking my words back. It's a way how to deal with it, to be honest and speak with the medical professionals and explain. Maybe there is depression, maybe there is financial pressure, maybe that's because not integrated in this country and you do not understand the rules and lifestyle here, which is another topic I want to talk today. This is integration, actually, and why these domestic violence are so severe, because the people do not integrate in an environment where they move in. They don't have a language, they don't have support teams, support systems around them. They feel isolated, they feel attached on a perpetrator because this is only one person they know. Etc, etc, etc. They have information only for the sources which actually do not from United Kingdom, but for their background countries where the information can be twisted and turned. This is the same with the vaccination as well, and Asian communities and many other things. So integration in the United Kingdom as well will be that who teach people how to get out of it. Because there is no integration program, which is big issue, huge issue. Why this domestic violence as well go over the head, because they get particularly in mixed families from different kind of backgrounds, crashes because of cultural belief systems, etc, etc. So, and if you are in this middle lane, as you mentioned, that maybe there is some kind of issues, you need to understand what the issue are. Unmute yourself, please.
Whoops. I think we're 3 minutes over time. And,
sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I think it's a very interesting conversation, so I thought I'd let it flow because we're getting into the cusp of some of the key things that people might be thinking. We're going to try VJ Sal again to see if you can at least round up the show. Can you hear us, VJ Sal? VJ Sal's frozen. Yep, I think it's frozen. So what I'd like to do is actually give you 1 more minute just to sort of round up for us and give you a message. Then I think you should probably do the roundup, because obviously your knowledge and understanding and actually having experienced something so terrifying, I don't think I can even sort of begin to imagine any of it, to be honest. So it sounds tough. Obviously, it's made you the person you are. You're very strong, clear, internally very strong as well. And I think a lot of people, I think most people are not necessarily internally very strong. They're very how do you say, they're quite soft and they may not be able to handle their emotions. So I suppose your character and what you built up to be able to become more independent in your thinking is actually allowed you to escape that type of problem. But I think it's you're probably one in let's say thousands of people that's been able to do it. But I don't think it's easy anyway. That's my feeling. So just tell me how you're going to round up so we can give the message you want to give to the viewers out there.
The most important is understand one thing and only one thing. If you are abused, that's not your fault. That's its first step. Because majority, I know I'm suffer with feeling that I'm not victim, but I'm guilty of that more than 35 years. I thought that it's my fault. And that's its first, what you always need to understand. If someone abuses you, this is not your fault. When you start to understand this is not your fault, you need to build yourself up with the trauma which was you went through and make analysis of situation, what need to be done to move out. This is professional help, this is physical removal out of the situation, this is support system building up around you and your family or your friends. But you need to understand priority, it's you and your health. And if there are children involved, you need to understand that's affect next generations. And you gave the example in normal situation as a normal. Simple. It's really simple. I know it sounds simple. I know maybe that is me, which is looks everything simple. Second, every morning you need to start connect with yourself from within. Because what your friends say, oh no, stay longer, or you need to little bit wait, maybe something change. Nobody can change if you do not change yourself in that situation. And this is the most difficult part, because majority people there have a lot of advices, a lot of, oh, he will change or she will change there, but you have that. They do not understand your inner feelings and how dangerous situation that can develop. They always, the worst advice majority is from family members, when they try to still keep those partners together for sake of kids, for sake of partner, for sake of brother, for sake of religion, for sake of cultural difficulties. They cannot imagine what happened behind the doors. And this is the hardest bit. Be strong for your inner needs, because you are special for yourself. You can achieve a lot without anyone than with wrong support.
Wow, that's actually blown me away. You know, that I'm left a bit speechless about how powerful what you said is. Because it's actually just touches my heart in some ways, because I can just imagine really how somebody must be stuck somewhere. I mean, millions of people must be stuck in these type of situations, and and in some ways, people are actually trapped in their own bodies. It's almost like a psychological prison. And
you need to start talking to yourself. You need to start talking to yourself and understand you are special.
Exactly. So I think one of the most important things is actually for everybody to realize out there that you are very special. And this is a message for myself and Anastasia to say that you are loved and that you are special, whoever's listening, because the reason you are special is because you are, not because we're saying you are. Just remember that you're all special, and you really need to remember that. So I think that's the message for today, the positive one, which is you're special. Once you realize you're special, everything will start filtering itself out. And so, phew, it's quite a heavy topic, isn't it? I wasn't really prepared for that in that way, but
what I want to say to all viewers, I always support and I always ready to talk about, to support you, because I know how you feel. I'm not certificate, some kind of diploma or get through just some kind of training book. And I say about that, I went through in a so heavy way when 5 years ago, I completely collapsed myself and was 3 years on a bed bed. Actually, I couldn't walk for 3 years. And over these 3 years, I completely reevaluate my life and what's happened. So if someone needs just support to talk about that or give some kind of advice, I always say, I can't give you advice, but choice will be yours. I cannot tell you what to do, but you need to understand where you stand. So please, you can find me, Anasthasiafox, in Facebook. There is no problems, and contact me there. And we have always arranged some kind of little bit catch up, what's going on, and I can give you coin other side or other side of the coin in the English language is correct. And then you start looking on a situation from another point, because that's where it's problem. We don't see the other side of the coin. We see only face.
Okay, well, I think my team are sending me messages saying that you're 12 minutes over. I think the most over we've ever been. But I think the most valuable part of the whole conversation really came out in the last 10, 15 minutes. So I think we probably want to take those clips and actually just make people aware that here are some anecdotes for people to be thinking about and have some sort of resolution. So even if we can change one bit of thinking or one person's life from this call, then it's definitely been a worthwhile exercise. So Anastasia, really appreciate you. You are very, very special. And I think I'm sure you've touched
Namaste.
Thousands of hearts out there in terms of your presence. I think your not only outer beauty, your inner beauty is 10 out of 10.
Thank you. Namaste. You make me really smile today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been absolutely wonderful, and I think such a positive message that you've got to share. So I think with all that, it's quite heavy stuff, powerful stuff. Everybody out there, do talk to Anastasia if you have anything to discuss, and even if you have something minor to touch upon and just have a discussion. I'm sure she'll be want to connect with you and help. So Anastasia, we'll definitely have you on again. I think it's such a wonderful ray of light, I'd say. Okay, take care, everybody. Thank you very much again.
Bye. Bye.